Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Very welcome. Today, we are going to talk about the structured data type. This one is going to be a reference for upcoming lectures, upcoming examples. So it's somehow mandatory for all of you to follow me on the screen, create the same example, store it under your OneDrive as we are going to use it next time, as we are going to split the same example, the same solution into multiple files next week and create object-oriented for the same example, same box example. So we are going to create a box with different length, height, and width, and then store it under one single file called .cpp. And then we are going to, when we start object-oriented, we are going to split the same thing into multiple files, such as 2.cpp and one header file. Therefore, it's somehow mandatory for you to follow me, create the same file, store the solution for yourself to make sure you do have access to it, to later adjust it accordingly. So let's start. I do not have too much of explanation under actually the lecture slide for you. Mostly we are going to focus on programming. That's why I want everybody to activate your Visual Studio. And follow me on the screen. Okay, everyone ready? Get ready then. So generally, as I said, we are going to create a box, but that box is supposed to have like some information. This is the example for today. Still, we are using regular C++ programming style, means creating everything under the same .cpp. When I say same .cpp, means still we do not have more than one file. Look at here. I'm going to pick a name for my example. You can pick just any name. In here, it's just mentioned console application 3 as a name for my project, but it could be any other option. And I'm having everything to be stored under a single .cpp yet. Later, we are going to have it to be split to multiple files. That's why follow me, learn how do I create it. And if you learn it today and learn which portion of this complex project, which I've already done it, I'm going to first show you the functionality, then I'll clean up everything and I will create everything from scratch with you to learn which kind of information is supposed to go under your main function, which kind of information later is going to a header file or a separate .cpp file. So if you do learn it today, your life is going to be sweet for the rest of the semester. But for everything, I believe everybody right now is completely familiar and comfortable with the term data type, right? Yes or no? If so, is there anyone in the class who can define data type with your own understanding? What is data type in C++ programming? Yes, and please. It's the way of defining variable. It's like, for example, you do have a first name, right? And you do have a family name. And that family name is a name coming from your parents. And if you do have sibling, they do have the same family name. So it simply means that family name is showing you are a kids of somebody. And which family? Which family? Somehow data type, if I wanted to define it like with human language to make it understandable for you, data type is giving identity to a variable. Means it's defining which kind of variable I'm having. Is it a number? Is it a character? Is it a string? Or if it is a number, is it just integer or is it the integer plus decimal point? Therefore, data type is identity of any category of information. It's somehow defining what I'm dealing with, which type of information. Characters, strings, Boolean, double, integer, and so on, right? But today we are going to learn how to create our own data type, right? So far, whatever data type, such as what you can see on my screen right in here, we have practice like characters, Boolean standing for Boolean, integer, long, float, double. These are all standard data types. We have no option to customize them. We have no option to define them from scratch. They are there. We get access to the header file iOS stream, for example, for some of them. For example, if you are using a string, you may need to get access to hash enclosed string as well to be able to use it. But the thing is, anyway, they are a part of compiler. They have been already defined. They are there. They are standard keywords. You go ahead and use them accordingly. But when we say abstract data type, means you guys as a programmer, as a user, are going to have access to define your own personalized data, set of data type, right? So we are going to learn it that way. Like what? Like, for example, you are going to create some variable, which is a student as a variable, but you want it to have a certain structure. So a struct in there is acting like a data type. So you are giving it a certain structure, struct a student. And then later you can use a student because it is structured by you. You can use it as a data type. Here you can see on my Visual Studio, I've created one example, which is a complex example. And may I have your attention, please? And I defined one structure called box. At the beginning, when I create box in here, box is the name for whatever data type I'm gonna define later. So in here, I called it as box, which is a structure that I've created, and I call it abstract data type. And then later, at the end, you can see that I have used the same box as a data type. So I've created my own customized data type called box. But when I use it as a data type later to create any other function, the method of using it is exactly the way that we use any other data type to create any other function, such as, remember, for some function we use void. So when I use box, I use it with the same exact structure as any other regular standard data type. Make sense so far? So this is the story of what we are going to practice together today. Pay attention, this information are new. I try my best to review previous lectures, even in like C++ programming, which I taught you last semester. I tried to do this only single example and every upcoming example. Usually I use, in any example, I use every single information that I taught you in the previous example. So if you follow me, it can be really helpful in order to review previous information. So now, before I start everything from scratch, I've already have this one. I'm going to show you the functionality. Then I clear up my Visual Studio and I start from the template, okay? So expectation is after I created my structure box and after I define multiple functions, such as, for example, create a random box, get the side of the box, conditional, the way that you calculate the volume and surface area for that box, then expectation from the console is be able to generate two text files and store all the information from the random box and the conditional box under those text files. And the only thing on console right now I'm expecting is just be able to give me the GRE text. You can get your console to output more information for you. But at this point, I'm just asking my console, go create those text files, one of them boxes.txt, the other one, myboxes.txt, and all I want you to show me on the console is just the size of length, height, and width for the greatest box. The rest is going to be under those. But of course, again, if you want more information to be displayed on your console, you can customize your cout and add more information. You can, for example, ask for the calculation or the result of the greatest surface area, the result of the greatest volume, anything you are interested. So I'm going to debug this one. And after debugging, all I see is the information for height, length, width for the greatest surface area, because I am creating 300 random boxes in this example, and I want only one of them to be shown. If I want all of them to be shown, it's too many information or too much of calculation in here. So now, how do I know I did it correctly? I go check my location. I see, okay, my boxes as a text file, and of course the actual boxes as a text file, both of them they are available. Look at here. So, and all like 300 boxes are created properly and correctly. So I know my program is a correct program, and it is creating these 300 random boxes for me. So now let's just close this one and go ahead and create everything from scratch. I'm going to start from hash include. You do it with me, please. Hash include iOS stream. Usually, right after that, I start with using namespace, std, to avoid extra coding on my program. And then I start with int main. This is my main function. I cannot customize the name and a structure, or I would say name and data type. But for every other function, I can do so. So I'm going to call this my template. Still, you are welcome to add return 0 to your template. Keep it right at this point. You may even add system pause. That's optional. System pause. You could also consider this one as a part of your template if you wish to. So far, so good. Everyone following? So now, today we are practicing a structure. So I'm not starting inside the main. I'm gonna show you first, how do I create a structure? A structure is supposed to be out of main. This is not the data type that I'm going to use it inside main yet. I have to first define it, right? So I start with the keyword struct. It has to be, one more time, kids, it has to be out of main. And then I give it a name. Since I'm going to create a box, I'm going to use box. And then open your curly bracket. Whatever you created in here, I call it, I'm going to leave a comment in here. I call it a structure tag. Anything underneath or anything inside the body, I call it a structure member. And I'm gonna just comment this. These are just for your information. Kids, so far, I'm gonna maximize this one to make sure it is clear for everyone to see. Kids, a structure box is going to be my own customized, at some point this box is going to be my own customized data type. But inside the structure, I have option to use different data type. I can mix. I can stay only with one certain data type, or I can mix. Like for example, I can use char, I can use integer, I can use double, based on which kind of project I'm gonna use. From the lecture slide, you can see I have only char for, suppose if you are going to create a structure with the name student, for a student, I have a student name, then I have their midterm exam, then I have their final exam. This is one example that you can see right in here. And you can see that I have option to use different standard data types under the same structure as a structure member. Here inside this example, I'm going to give you different members just to practice a little bit more. For example, I'm creating a box. If this is my box, this box has length, height, and width, right? So length, height, and width. Therefore, since like the height might hold some decimal point, or maybe the width or whatever, I'm going to use double. You may want to use double like me. And then give it the name. What do I want? I want length, I want height, and I want width. So define it like that. So give it length, give it double. Only define the variables. You shouldn't, at this point, you don't need to give it content, right? At this point, just define the variables. And then you define your, I'm going to close extra information in here because I'm going to create this from scratch. And I'm going to close this one. And I'm defining it from scratch. So then I'm going to create widths. Then I'm going to create double. So push it back to stay nice and clean. Then latest, like right after that, create your height. And I'm done with defining my structure member for this example. I have only 3 members, length, width, height. If you have typo in any of the variables that you define, it doesn't really matter if you keep defining those variables with the same name, because variables are customized name, but you cannot have typo in the data type. So I'm done with the structure. I'll go back to the lecture slide. You do have another example, and then we'll close the lecture slide and we'll focus only on the programming. You follow me on step by step, create your own box with random size. So in here, I have one more example for you. Just for example, I'm having a student. Right in here, I define a student is going to be my structure tag. Then I can define this student name and I can give it like midterm and final information. So you can initialize the information even right in here if you wish to. So another example in here, which is the box, is asking me to create multiple functions. So I'm going to create a random box based on the problem that I'm having in here. And I'm going to define the length, width, and of course the height. And I'm creating this for 300 bucks. Before moving forward, since it's been given to me how many bucks I want, it's been it's defined with 300. So I have option to keep repeating the number of boxes under different variable inside all of those functions. Or I have option to just define one constant variable for the number of boxes, which I'm going to call it box underline count, which is for me 300. Who can tell me what is this line? This is a, yes. What do I call it? I call it global variable. Means this variable is accessible inside every single function that I'm going to create. I do not need to redefine it. Why is that? Simply because I defined it before main or out of main. So it's available everywhere. That's why I defined it out of main. So far I have done this part, which was which was like the number of boxes. Next, I'm going to create a random box. Random box is supposed to be my function. Therefore, remember I said best practice is creating your functions out of main. I mean after main instead of before main. Again, technically is correct if you want to create them before main. But best practice is after main to be able to easier find main and call them. So technically correct, but best practice is after main. So I'm gonna give it a data type. So I'm creating random box. Random box, what is the expectation from random box? Random box supposed to store length, width, and height of 300 boxes inside the text file. And then this function should call another function, which is a get side. So first I'm gonna create this, but I don't finish it up because it has to call another one, which is get side. So I give it randbox, create it with me. Randbox, this is how we define it. Give it room for function definition. And later, I need to call another one, which is get side. I'm going to give double to my get side, double get side, and then I'll go complete them one by one. So here expectation is store the size of 300 boxes. Here, expectation from the get side, based on the question, because later I'm going to close this. Expectation from get size is this get side supposed to randomly generate side. So this is random numbers for the site. Make sense so far? So I'm going to bring this down, but before that, remember, I'm having some more information. Side of box should be between 12 and 36. So this number are not my choice. I'm taking them from the problem. Problem is asking me, hey, have a minimum of 12. Later, I convert it to C++ programming and max of 36. So then let's bring this down and go define that part. Meanwhile, since this topics came up, please make sure that you register your name under the project list and set up your groups, assign a project topic for yourself. Today, the list is gonna become unavailable. Make sure by the end of the day, you register yourself under the project list and have a group of 4. So let's go back to here. I've already defined my actually random box and get side. Now I have option to go ahead in addition to the 300, which I've defined as a constant. I can go ahead, define another constant for minimum and maximum boxes, right? Either right in here as a constant, or I can define it only inside the function that I'm using. So at this time, all I need is just defining random box. Let's start with random box, which is for 300. So I have to say, it was asking me output a text file. Who can remind, if I'm planning to output a text file, which kind of library or which kind of header file I want? Hash include fstream, because I'm expecting some text file to be stored as a text file and as an external text file. Therefore, I have to define a stream and then go inside your random box and your get side and use them. So first random box of a stream from the question. Remember, it was asking me to store the size of 300. So I would say now create a file, call it out file, and then give it a name. So first say double length width. You can, of course, you can define your length, width, and height in separate line, or you can just do it like me, which is more efficient in the same line. And height. So this is the first one. And now it's time. I'm giving it a seed. I'm gonna say a strand. Remember, we practiced this one last week too. A strand, I'm gonna use seed 5,000 to make sure everyone is getting the same numbers. And then I'm gonna out file. Yeah. No, not any number. 6,000 is also okay. Yeah. Out file, but now everybody use 5,000. Some may use even 1,000. So out file dot open. Who can tell me what this line is going to do for me? Out file dot open means I am going to create a text file to export the information of the console into that text file. I don't have any number yet. I'm just storing the information in there. Okay? So I'm going to call it, you have to give it the name. I'm going to call it boxes.txt. .txt. This is what I choose. You can choose any other name. Right after that, I'm gonna clean up the screen. I'm gonna, since it's going to create 3 different columns for me, one for length, one for height, one for width, I'm gonna define how I want the structure. Therefore, in order to have a clear output, I'm gonna get access to hash include. What is the proper header file in here? IOmanip. IOmanip will give me option to customize the output, either on console or inside any text file. So now how do I use it? I'll come back to here and I use it out file. I'm gonna use set precision. Who can tell me what set precision is supposed to do for us? Mayu, once another student. Yeah. Exactly. Well, I'm creating random boxes with random sizes. Of course, and since I use double in here, simply means it might come with some decimal point. Therefore, since I want my output to be neat and clean, and I don't want one of the numbers to come with 2 decimal, the other one with 3 decimal, and so I clear my out file using just a command set precision. So I define only 1 decimal point. I don't want 10 decimal point or 12 or 7 or random for each number. That's why I command it using set precision. Right after that, I'm gonna keep this fixed, and fixed is also a keyword. So it's gonna be the same for every single data which is going to be created after compilation process. Everyone with me still? Everyone following? So next, it's time, since I am creating actually a box with length, height, and of course width, and I'm having 300 of them, I have to loop it. So I have to say for. Remember I said anytime you start looping, you have to define your looping variable. Looping variable could be done, definition of it, out of for loop, or inside the parentheses for loop. So the only option that you have in order to, like, inside the parentheses define, for example, for loop, for you can, but you cannot define anything for if, right? I mean, as a variable. For your variable could be done inside the parentheses or outside the parentheses. But if you are using an if condition, the variables that you are using in there, it must be defined earlier, then use them inside if. For, you may use a variable which is not defined earlier, but you define it right in here. So I'm gonna use I starting from 0, and then I'm gonna continue up to less than. Remember, I've already defined a global variable for the number of the boxes, which is in here. So I use box count. So I can use exactly the same one in here. So I can say box underscore count, which is 300. I know the number, but I use the variable. And then I can say I plus plus means accumulated. Start from 0 and count until 300. Right after that, I open my curly bracket. And since I'm going to have multiple lines to be impacted inside this for loop, I must have curly bracket. There are situations you have only one line or one command. It might be a cout under your for loop. Then you do not need curly bracket. But when you have multiple lines, you must include, like in here that I did, you must just enclose all of them inside the curly bracket. So now, for length, what do I need? For length, I want to say, so now what do I want in here? This is supposed to create random sizes. But how do I do that? I'm going to hold right in here. I'm going to create random sizes for length, width, height. So hold on in here. Come define how you create a random size inside a different function and then call it inside that one. So look at the name. I say get side. The name is get side. I'm going to say go get it from get side. But still, I do not have the method. So I'm going to go back to the get side and define the method. Like in here. Inside the get side, now define your constant integer. I already said I'm having a minimum and maximum. So then say mean assigned to 12. Max assigned to, what was it, 36, right? From here. This is coming from the problem. 36. So I'm having a boundary. I want my sizes for length, height, and width to be minimum 12, maximum 36. Now I can go ahead and define how do I create those random numbers. Say double. I'm going to give it a name side. You can choose any other name. And then I say, okay, parentheses, double, right? And then, remember we had similar problem to solve last week, how to create random. It's very similar to that. Command rand slash, and I'm looking for random box. Random underscore box is random maximum. I'm going to create random max. Random max, because I'm looking for a maximum size later. So then I'm gonna have this one times, I already defined max minus mean, and then plus mean and semicolon. All I need to return, because remember, every single function we create, we have to return something out of it to the main. So I'm gonna return side. Now I have option to define random length. I'm gonna just repeat this one for the other. I'm done with get side, right? So now I'm gonna go back, finish up my random box, because in here I was looking for width to also come from get side. I was looking for height to also come from get side. Semicolon. Still there are more. I'm done with those length, width, and height. But still, I need a little bit more of cleaning up for the output. These are not, I would say, technically impacting the result, but they are cleaning up the output. So I'm going to use, again, out file, shift left, and then who can tell me what is set width? Why do I use this? What's the impact? Who can tell me? Any idea? Set width is doing? No, not you. You were here in the previous section. Somebody else. What set width is doing for me? Yeah. More. That's correct, but it's still more. Yeah. Exactly. Set width, suppose that you do have a table. Inside this table, you do have lots of cells, right? Each of those cells supposed to have, like, hold some integer or some characters, right? Now, how many? I want to say, I want the width of each of those cells to be, in this example, I use 7. I want equal widths to have a clean, nice output for all of the cells, right? So I use 7 for that purpose. And I'm gonna use the same for, this is for length. Then I can continue doing it for widths and height. So again, I say set widths. I'm gonna set this one also to 7. And then I want this to be for width. I do the same, set width 7. Again, so I'm gonna push this down to make sure everyone can see what I am doing. I did it for length, I did it for width, now I'm gonna do it for height. And then that's it. You just finish it up with and L or what? Or \n. Either. You need to just push information to the next slide. So I'm going to remind you, kids, look at line 37 in here. I've opened the file. What did I say before? I said, anytime you open a file, you must make sure to close that file. And that's the time. So just make sure it's not inside the for loop. You are done. You start from here. You close. This is end of. I leave you a comment. End of 4. So it's not going to be inside it. It should be outside. Out file, dot, close, and then semicolon. Do I have anything more in here to do? No. I'm done with 2 of my main functions. So what I did was the first step of function creation, which is function definition for both random box and get side. What is the next step? Who can tell me? Second step of function definition. Any idea? More? I've got 2 students more. Bear with me. Who knows what's the second step? We practiced this last week so many times. Second step, yeah, prototype. Let's go create prototype. I'm gonna start with random. Copy the first line of your function, which is the function header line. Move to the beginning of the code right after using namespace and make sure before main, just paste it at semicolon. This is the second step of function creation, which is the function prototype. I did it for random box. I'll go back and I do the same for get side. I copy the function header line. I come back to the beginning of the code, make sure it's before main, paste it at semicolon. I'm done for function prototype for the second one. I leave you comments in here. This is for, I do for one of them. This is prototype, right? So if I have only these 2 functions, what would be the next step that I have to take? It has to be function call. Function call. Means what? Where should I go to call the functions? Yeah, inside the main. Function definition and function prototype must be done outside of the main function, but function call is always done inside. So I'm going to hold on right in here. I'm not going to create the other two functions. We have two more. So I'm going to complete these two first. Inside the main, I'm going to call my random box. I'm going to call my get site function, both of them, and then we'll continue with the rest. So I'm going to create if a stream input. What is if a stream? Who can tell me? If a stream, I already said what is of a stream. How about if a stream, and what's the difference? Of a stream means out. Yes, go on. Yes, if a stream means input information from some external file. Of a stream means output some information. Either you have created those information inside, like your programming, and now you wanted to output it, or you are reading it from an external file and you are outputting the same information to another external file. So of a stream is always to output, if a stream is always to input information into your program. Make sense so far? Still with me, kids? Last row. Still with me? Okay. Are you doing it? I'm coming to check your program. You shouldn't just watch. You have to show me the functionality of your code. Watching is not helpful to learn programming. So now I've got if a stream input. Now it's time, remember I created a structure and I called it box. It's right in here. It's time to call my box. Here is my box. And I'm going to give it a name, boxes. And I'm going to turn it to, what is this? Array. I'm going to turn it to become an array. And I'm going to give it a size. But the size is already defined. What was it? 300. Either I can go ahead and type 300, or I can use the exact same variable which I've already defined as a global variable, which is box underscore count. And simply close it up with semicolon. So now I'm going to create my boxes because I've already created a function called random box. Now I'm going to call random box right in here. How do I do it? I simply say rand box, which is a function. Open parentheses. I do not have arguments, so I leave it empty as it is. And this is done for random box. Next, it's time to open my file. Remember, I already created one file in here as an output, called it box. It's time to open it. How do I open it? So I have to open it with a command in here called input. It's already there. It's a file which is there. Therefore, I only need to say input dot open, and then again open parentheses, and inside the parentheses use the exact same name. It was boxes dot txt. So open your double quotation boxes dot txt and semicolon. Okay? So you have opened the existing file. How do I know that file exists? How do I know I already created that file? I know you know it. Anyone? I can just simply come here because I've already created that. I've already created that file. After I debug, still I haven't debugged, but after I debug, it will go store under the same location that I have defined this project. Remember, the name is boxes. So after I debug, it should be there. I can just go there and check, right? But I already created one. That's why it's in there. Remember at the beginning of the class, I debugged the file for you. to show you the expectation. That's when it is created and it is stored in there. We'll do it again. So this time, maybe I'm gonna change the name, then you can see it. So I'm gonna change this boxes 1. Then you will see that, okay, what is the difference? To change the name and create a different one. So I changed them to boxes 1 because I already have one in there. So I'm going to come back here. I input the file means I'm going to read information from it. So I'm going to just open if. What if I cannot input the file? Means if input.fail, I need some expectation from the console. Since I'm having only one command, I do not need any curly bracket. I simply say fail, or I simply say error, or whatever. Just maybe error, whatever command you want. And then I want this to move to the next line. And now, else, go ahead and start looping for all of the 300 boxes. So say for, remember I said you can define your looping variable inside. Again, say integer, I start from 0, semicolon, I less than, what was the number? It was box count, means 300, semicolon, I plus plus, right? And continue this process means it continue this process for all 300 boxes. Start from 0, continue creating them for 300 boxes. And then what was the input means? Go get this information from input because all those sizes are defined inside this input, which is boxes 1. So what do I want? I want boxes. And then it should be array. Inside the array should be I. And then I want a dot length. That's the first one. And then I wanted again boxes. And then this is an array with I. I is the size, right? And then it should be dot width. And then again, last one. What is the last one? Boxes, array, size I. And it should be dot. This is for height. And that's it. Semicolon. Make sure your for loop has a close. I'm going to push this down for you to see the whole thing, right? So this is your for loop. And I'm going to leave it right in here. Can I debug the code right now before even adding more information? Because yes, I can. Why not? I can because I do have no issue. I have only created 2. I'm going to go back to the lecture slide to look at the problem. What the problem was? The problem was go ahead, create 2 functions in addition to your main function. Call one of them random box for the size of the box. Store them under text box. I already did that. Look at here. And then go get another function, call it getSize, and make sure those random information or random sizes for the box start from 12 and stop at 36. I did all of them. And these 2 functions are done. So I'm done up to this step. Even before adding the last 2 functions, still I should be able to create some random box, store them under, I called it this time boxes 1. Initially, I had another file box, but now, do I have any expectation from console? No, because I didn't ask. Look at here. I didn't ask any cout. Since I didn't ask any cout, I shouldn't really have any expectation right in here. That's why. But still, you are more than welcome to add cout to get expectation in there. So, but how do I confirm the functionality of my code right now? It's time. I'm going to push this one. I'm going to just minimize this. And then leave it right in here. Why is this maximized? Okay, and then I'm gonna check. How do I check it? I come here, I click on file, I look at wherever the location of my project is, and then I open it and I see here I have option to choose all files, and I just see, oh, okay, box. Remember, I changed the name to boxes1, right? So I have exactly boxes1.txt. Now what happened if I open it up? Do you want to replace it? Yes. So now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna just open the box one more time because I have two files in there. This is my box one. Look at the numbers. I have created like 300 random boxes. You should validate the functionality of your code exactly the way I did. Go open the text file, whatever the name is for you, and see if you have right now 300 boxes in there. I mean, actually 300 sizes. And then these sizes should be one for length, one for height, one for width. Make sense? Now we can continue. I've already created two functions. One more time, kids, after you debug, you should be able to see number of boxes. How do you do so? You have to go to the location that your project is stored. For me, the project is stored right in here. My text file was boxes1. So I click on the text file. And then after I click on the text file, inside one more time, inside here, if I do it outside of the code, and if I set it, if you don't see it that way, set it to all file, you see it, and then click boxes. No, I don't want to change anything. Just open it up for me. You can also do it this way. Just open it up, and it will list down all the numbers for you, either in a text file outside the way I do it. You know what happened? Because previous step, I said replace it. It is showing this one. I'm gonna open the other one for you. This one should be all the numbers. All of my numbers are here. So what I need to do, if you replace your information, the way that I did, what you need to do, I'm gonna debug again. If you debug again, this time I'm gonna give it another, maybe just boxes. And I'm gonna delete the previous one to show you it's gonna generate the boxes from scratch. I'm gonna delete this one. I'm gonna delete this one. I don't have anything, okay? So just to make it understandable, I call it again boxes because I deleted the other one. And then I'm gonna save it again. I'm gonna debug it again. Many of you are asking me, how do I get access to my boxes? So I'm waiting for the debugger. Debugger is trying to create them again because I deleted the previous versions. I shouldn't expect anything in here because I do not have a cout. I can simply close this and then I go here. Remember, I deleted them. Now again, it is created because I debugged. If you cannot see it, your project is defined in a wrong way. And then if you click on it, you can see 300 boxes. Look at here, I've created 300 boxes. One more time, anyone cannot see it. If you do not have this option save as, means when you define your project from scratch, you didn't define it in a right way. Definitely, you didn't define the project as a complete project. You just have a .cpp file. How do you fix that? You just Control-A, Control-C your entire code. Go ahead and define a new project from scratch. Copy this whole code into a different file and give it right location to a store. And then debug, and then your issue will be solved. Yeah. You have the save as. Again, the issue is exactly what I said, because your project, oh, that's another thing. When you hit the save as, somebody is asking another question. He said that I do have the save as. I open it, but I don't see it. Look at here, because right now it is set to only c.cpp and cxs. And so then expand it, choose all files, then it will show it. That's another thing. There are lots of tricks in here. Make sense? It did solve your issue? Good job. So now let's continue, because we have 2 more functions to create. So far we've done random boxes, we've done get site, and I'm having conditional box. Under conditional box, I have more expectation. It's asking me now, go ahead, calculate. I'm gonna just highlight it with a different color. It's asking me to go calculate the volume and calculate surface area for those boxes. And then after that, take the greatest size of box for me. So it's asking, go first, calculate volume and surface area for every single 300 box I create, right? So calculate it for every single one, and then define another force function, call it greatest area, and pick only the information for that greatest area later inside the main. I'm gonna use cout to print out only those information. Make sense? So let's quickly do this part. I'm gonna bring this down. I'm gonna go ahead, and now it's time to create another. I'm gonna create another, actually 2 function, not only 1. I've already created 2. Now I'm gonna conditional. So I use void. I'm gonna call it conditional box. You can use any other name. I'm gonna call it conditional box. And I'm gonna go through all 3 main steps of creating a box. I've already created a structure box, remember? Therefore, I can use the box right now as a data type here. And it must be exactly with the same format it is created before. So box, and then I'm gonna give it name boxes. And I'm gonna define this as an array. So conditional box, remember from the lecture slide, it was asking me to calculate volume and calculate surface area, and then output them again inside a separate text file. I've already created one. Remember, I called it in here boxes. Now I'm going to create another text file. Don't confuse in here. I'm creating 2. This one is done. Now I'm creating another one, but the method is gonna be exactly the same. Still, I'm gonna say office stream out file. This is a great practice to recreate another file. This time, instead of size, like for example, length, width, and height, I'm gonna calculate volume, and I'm gonna calculate, this is my volume, and I'm gonna calculate surface area. Here we go. And since I might have decimal point, I'm using double. Next, again, since I'm creating another text file, again, I have to open it. So remember, for opening, again, go say out file dot open. Again, parentheses, go ahead, pick another new name, not the previous one. Previous one was boxes.txt. And now I'm going to give it the name myboxes.txt. Again, you have option to choose any preferred name. And again, I'm going to clean up the output. This part is under IO manip, right? So I would say out file. Set precision, I'm not repeating. I already explained what are these steps. So out file, this one should be capital because I've already had it with capital. Therefore, so I'm going to use 1 for my set precision, and I'm going to keep it as fixed. Here we go. Still with me, everyone? So then I'm going to put it inside the for loop. Again, I have to define my looping variable. I start from 0. I'm going to continue up to the maximum, which was box count, and then semicolon, and then accumulate. Next, inside the loop. This time I'm going to calculate volume. Hopefully everybody is good with this mathematical part. So I'm going to say boxes. Remember, it was an array. Don't forget to define it as an array. Size is I right now. And then dot length. Don't have typo. Otherwise, you are going to have some trouble. Again, boxes. It's an array with size I. And then that was length. Now I have to say dot width. And then again times. Again say boxes. Repeat this for all the sizes. Array with size I. And then dot height. And semicolon and done. Slide over to see everything. So this is done for the volume. We'll do the same process for the surface area, but the equation for surface area should be different. Surface area. So for surface area, I have to say 2 times, open parentheses, again, boxes. It should be dots, it should be I, and then again with dots length times boxes. This is boxes. Continue this with width, length, height, same thing. Again, it has to be I. For the sake of time, since I've already done it in here, I'm gonna just repeat, not to repeat it, I've already explained it, so I'm gonna just copy this one just for the sake of time. You do it the same. Now, make sure you are still inside the for loop, not outside. Inside the for loop, define your condition because you wanted to follow the condition from here. Remember, it was mentioned that you want your volume to be between 20,000 and 30,000, and you want your surface area to be between 4,000 and 5,000. That's the condition. So I'm gonna just use the same condition in there. How do I use it? I would say if my volume is greater than equal to, what was the number? 20,000. And there was more. And my volume is less than equal to, what was the other number? 30,000. Then do what? Still surface area needs to be considered. And I have surface area. The condition was, I'm going to push the surface area again down to make sure you can see it. For surface area, my condition was greater than equal to 4,000. And surface area to be less than equal to 5,000, kids. This is my if condition. Open your curly bracket and go define your condition. Condition is if it is this, right? Then go ahead, out file. Again, this is going to be your adjustment for the output. I'm gonna define my set width to be 7 for all of them. I've already done this one time. Again, for the sake of time, I'm gonna copy this. I explained it. I'm expecting everybody to know what I'm doing. If not, again, ask me. I can explain again. I only define the width of my output for length, for width, and height. That's what I'm doing in here. Make sure that you close. This is end of your if. Always be careful about your brackets. If you miss a bracket, it's going to give you headache. This is end of my for loop because I had a for loop, right? And remember, I'm going to go back and show you. Remember, in line 84, I've opened the file. Expectation is closing it. Then go ahead, say out file, dot, close, and then done. Do I have anything more for this one? No. But remember, this is the first step of function creation. So I have to copy my header line of the function. I have to move to the beginning of the code, and I have to create my prototype. This is the second step, and add semicolon. How about the third step? Third step is calling the conditional box. Where do we call it, kids? Inside the main. How do I call my conditional box? All I have is just go ahead, right after you are done with your else, call the exact same name, conditional box, with the same format, open, and then all you need in here, boxes. And then finish it up with semicolon. I'm done with the conditional box. All three steps, function definition, function prototype, and this is the function call. I'll go back. I finished my last function. Remember, I have one more task. I'll go back and I review what that is. Is get the greatest area. I have to look at all my 300 random boxes. After calculation, they have been outputted to this like text file, my boxes, right? Even right now, I'm gonna debug for you quickly, and I'll show you my boxes is also, it must be right in here. If everything is correct, which we are gonna verify, first debug before creating your last function debug. You shouldn't see anything in here because I haven't asked for any cout. So I'm gonna just close it. I'm gonna go back, open your file, and you can see, okay, and look at my time. I created this one right now, so it is right in here. If you click on it, it should give you all of the calculations in here, okay? These are all information after the conditional box is created. The other one was before the conditional. The conditional box in here was for 300. The regular box for 300. And then I condition it, and now I have 24 only. Okay? Only 24 of them meet those limitations for area and surface and volume. I'll go back. Yes. Do you have a question? Just simply, I called it conditional box inside the main right in here. After the else, simply call it, and this is the last step function call. And then debug, and then you can see my boxes. I'm having greatest surface area. I already created 24 boxes, and now I'm gonna get the compiler to pick the greatest surface area between all of this. And this time I want some output instead of another text file. I want some output on the console. So I'm gonna do this quickly, and then we are done. So it should be greatest area for the name. Of course, you can choose any other. So I'm gonna just go ahead. Again, I'm gonna use void. Actually, for this one, since I do have already box, I'm gonna use box. I'm gonna use box, greatest area. It's a new function. You can pick any name. I'm gonna say greatest surface area, and then define it exactly the way that you define your other function. Just the only difference is you already created a structured data with box. Then you can use the box to calculate the greatest surface area. So this time again, I'm gonna just go ahead double. For this one, I have to define all my length, width. This should be length, comma, width, comma. Make sure you are following me. Still with me, kids? And then, since I'm looking for surface area, and surface area might have, I'm gonna use again double, might have like decimal point, calculate surface area. You may ask me, can I define the length, width, and height? And of course, surface area as global at the beginning, 100% yes. If you define surface area, length, width, and height at the beginning as global, then you do not need to redefine them right in here. Now, double, I'm going to create another one because I'm looking for the maximum surface area. So I'm going to call it max area. You can call it whatever. And I'm going to set this to become 0. And I already defined the box, so I can use it right now. Box, I'm creating the greatest box in here. And done. Box, right. First box is data type, second box is variable. Question? What? Inside the conditional box? No. No. Inside conditional box, I don't define those. Probably you need to look at inside the conditional box is undefined. Which one is undefined? Here, probably you have typo, or you might miss your structured data. Make sure that your structure is defined properly. If you don't define them in here, then of course they are not known inside here. Go check your structure if you have error in there. So now I'm going to continue with box. Right after that, remember now I need if a stream because I've already created those surface areas and they are existing as a text file. It's time to go get the information from there. Input means go read them from there, right? Go read this stuff, this information. Go get the sizes from the previous one, which is my boxes.txt. Input them in here. So I'm going to command to input. So I would say input dot open. I already have the file. Everybody should know where the file is. And then remember the name, I assigned it to be my boxes. I cannot remember, it was capital. Yeah, it was capital. So I defined it with lowercase b. So I have to use the same thing. Boxes.txt and then semicolon. So you must use the exact same name, same format. Otherwise, you are going to get error. If input, I'm going to validate the existence of that file. So if input.fail, then do what? Then see out some error message for me. Then see out. You can do any message in here, error or fail or whatever. And then end L. Otherwise, or else, do what? Else star. Right after that, if it is valid, if you can open it, then start substituting those numbers into my equation for surface area and then calculate the largest or let's say greatest surface area for me. So how do I do that? I would say if it's not valid, just error. Give me error. Else, say while not input. What is EOF? What is EOF, kids? Who knows that? End of file. Then input. Again, length. I want to input length. Get the length from there. Get the width from there. And of course, the height. And get the height from there. And finish it up with semicolon. These are my inputs. Read them from there. Put them inside the surface area. It's an equation. We defined it before. Therefore, I'm gonna, it's the exact same. Look at here. I defined it in here. So it's the same equation. But now this time I do not need to address the array because I redefined them. So I put it right in here. But the same equation, 2 times length times width plus length times height plus width times height. And that's it. Make sure you close. This is going to be your end of if. We have only 2 more lines, and then we have to go back and call it. Be sure that you are closing your if. Look at here. This is if else, right? Right after that, you need to make sure your while is closed. This is my while. Close your while. And right after you close your while, look at here, I've opened in line 123, I opened the file. It's time to close it. Again, say input dot close and close it up. And of course, right after that, after you close that, check how many you have in here. I have one open in here. It's been closed in there. I have else and I have while. And right after that, return the box. I need to close this one, which is right in here. And right after that, just return. Return your box, semicolon, and close the whole thing. I may miss one. So I have 1, 2, 3 open, 4 open. So 1, second one should be else, third one should be while, and okay, I'm missing one thing in here. I need to conditional, because one more thing in here. I'm gonna conditional, I calculate the surface area while this surface area, let's conditional this one. Let's say now, because I'm looking for the greatest one. Do this part with me. After you calculate your surface area, I want this to give me the greatest surface area. So I'm adding one more condition. I'm adding the condition, I'm looking for the max area. Since I'm looking for max area, open another one and say, right in here, what is your max area? I'm gonna assign it to surface area. Now my surface area is supposed to be my max area. And right after that, say box.length, supposed to be your length. This supposed to be your length. Do the same thing for box.width to be your width. This is supposed to be your width. And do the same for box.height. Assign it to become your new height. If you don't do this, then you won't be able to. So this is going to be end of if, end of while. And now you have it done properly. All you have to do, just go ahead. This is your new function. Get this one. Move to the beginning of the file. Remember, for every single function, you need to create your prototype, add, and then go ahead, call it. That's it. How do you call this one? You just come here, say box. Box is your data type, and the other box is the name. Because this time I wanted to see out inside the console, simply I can say this is supposed to be my greatest surface area. And since this is a call function, close it with semicolon, add all your cout. I'm gonna cout like, I'm gonna say cout box with greatest surface area. You can leave any message for yourself in there and then cout. This time you can expect something on the console. I'm gonna cout length. So I'm gonna cout length, and I want this length to come from box.length, box.length, and L. I repeat this one for cout for width. I want width to come from box. You do the same. Box dot width and L. Add, oops, I removed it. just add endl. And do the same for cout. This time I want it to be height. Height. Get out of this and then say box dot height. And then endl. And I'm done. All I have to do, remember again, I opened a file right in here. All I have to do is I need to close it, right? So I'm done with all of those. Just right after this line, input dot close your parentheses, semicolon, and I've already added my return and everything. I'm gonna expand this one and I'm gonna show you one more time what I did. So I already called the function. Everything is done properly. I do not have any error. My green checkbox is right in there. You can see it. And all I have to do is debug. This time when I debug, I should have expected some numbers for height, length, and width on console since I have cout inside the main. Everybody debug with me. I'll come around and I'll check your screen. And then we are going to be done with this. And quiz is going to become active in 3 minutes. You got the results? Good job. Everybody else? How many of you can see the length, height, and the width exactly like mine in here? What are your numbers? And 31. Everybody should have the same number. Why is that? Because I used the SID 5000. Yes. You need so much help? Okay. So let me confirm. Everyone should get length 31, width 23.8, and height 31.9. That's one thing for validation of your code. Next, go check either from this folder in here and see if you do have your my boxes text file and boxes text file in here. And that's another part of the code. First two function, I only created text boxes. I didn't ask for any cout on console. So you have to see all this like things in here to validate the functionality of your code. This is it for today. I'm going to pause the recording right in here, and then you will see your quiz in a few minutes. Meanwhile, I'm going to come around and collect some of your questions. Thanks for being here today.